Okay. Hey.
Good morning. Hanukkah Sameach. Here we go. See, you go to your. Everybody went to their makom kavua. We were just discussing that.
Not making trouble today.
Okay, so we're talking about the dreidel, and so Rabbi Nachman explains to us the deep significance of every mitzvah and every halacha. Good morning, Becky. Velo rak mitzvah v'halacha mitzgaleh b'dvarav k'shar el olamos elyonim ela afilu minhag sheYisrael noagim bo. So, and it's not just like mitzvahs and halachas that. I can't see her now. Becky, do you hear me?
I hear you fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. So he explains to us not just like mitzvahs and high worldly things, but also things that are minhag Yisrael. Okay, like midorot hishtaresh minhag l'sachek b'Chanukah b'sevivonim. Okay, it's for generations. It's rooted in our minhagim to play on Chanukah with sevivonim, with dreidels. אפשר לשחק בזה בצורות רבות, אבל המשחק הנפוץ הוא לסובב ולנחש על איזה אות ייפול ויעצור הסביבה. Right? There are many ways of playing dreidel, although I don't really know how many. I mean, my kids just like to spin it, just stom and see how long it spins, whatever. But one of my kids has a dreidel. I had a dreidel. My birthday's on Hanukkah, as everybody, as I think the whole world knows by now. My birthday's not always on Hanukkah. It's on the year that I was born. It was Zos Hanukkah. It's Gimel Teves. The same Gimel Teves, right? So Gimel Teves is like this funny day. It's like some years it's Zos Hanukkah, which is like the highest, holiest, awesomest day of Hanukkah, and some years it's the day after Hanukkah. So it's like a very funny thing. It's this whole. It was
last day.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, exactly. When I was born, it was Hanukkah. So I always consider myself, I'm a Hanukkah baby, even though this year it's not on Hanukkah, it's the day after. So it's a whole thing because it depends on how many days. Good morning. It depends on how many days Kislev has. Kislev can have 29 days or 30 days, right? And so most years it has 30 days, in which case Hanukkah ends on Beis Teves, and some years it has 29 days, so it ends on Gimel. So anyway, so I had like this dreidel collection because I was always obsessed with Hanukkah. So one of my daughters actually took it up, and every year we buy her a new dreidel, and it's very nice. Whatever. Anyway, but the way that most of the world plays it is to, I don't know. The truth is, I don't know that we gamble on the. This is not generally what he's saying is like that you gamble on like what letter it's going to fall on, right? We have rules, right? It's like shin you pay in, right? Hey, you get half the pot. Nun, there's nothing. And Gimel, you get the whole thing, right? So that's generally how people play it. B'chutz la'aretz, hayu reshumot, and this is how he says that here, right? Al hasevivon ha'otiot nun gimel hey shin, which is really what it's supposed to be. Hava omer roshei tevot nes gadol hayasham sham be'eretz Yisrael. Now I'm gonna. He doesn't really go into this whole thing, but I'm gonna go into a thing for a minute, okay? Really, all dreidels should have nes gadol hayasham on them because Sham doesn't necessarily only mean there physically. It also means there spiritually. It means there in time. It means like there in the, like in that mindset, we'll call it even, right? And Paul almost has this like, we're not living in Mashiach, right? Like it's not Geula yet, right? We're here physically. Right, Goshna, exactly. So there are many things that there are many deep Torahs associated with the letter Shin, and it's one of these things that shouldn't be messed with I think it's one of these things that shouldn't be messed with. I mean, not just me. Bigger minds than me have said it's something that shouldn't be messed with. There's deep significance, and Rabbi Nachman's going to actually teach us some of that deep significance right now. Ma mashmaut hamischak hazeh, right? Nes gadol hayasham means a great miracle happened there. Just to translate for anybody that needs translation. Ma mashmaut hamischak hazeh. What's the deeper significance of this game? Madua misachakim bo davka b'yimei Chanukah. Why do we play with it? Davka on Chanukah, which is actually a very good question, right? Sarah, you said before that, right? One of the things that's handed down for generations is that it was this almost like a distraction, right? It was to hide that the Jews were learning Torah in the caves when they, and when they were hiding from the Greeks, and the Greeks would come and they would like put away the scrolls. Exactly. I have a kid's book at home where all the scrolls are like piled behind a rock, and they're all playing with the spinning top. Exactly. And so theoretically the Greek, soldiers would say like, oh, they're just playing with the spinning top. Let's go on to the next cave, right? That's like the idea that came down, okay? Rabbi Nachman Meva'er. So Rabbi Nachman explains in Sichos Haran, Shehaolam murkav me'arba memadim, okay? That the world is made up of 4 levels, 4 different like Memad is really like a level, but it's also like an aspect, a dimension. I like that word, dimension, right? Achad gavoha mechavero. Okay, each one higher than the next one. Oh, so in the end, we have a nice full room here. Okay, here, this is for Tila. Hamemad hanamuch biyoter nikras shefel. Okay, the lowest dimension is called shefel. Okay, and that's a word that we're used to. Right? Shefel means lowly, literally. Halohu haolam hachomari hamegusham v'chol hanivraim hamotzuim bo. Okay, this is the physical world, the world that is made of physical material, and everything that's created. All of creation is found in that dimension, Shefel. Lemala mimenu, higher than that, kayam memad hamemutza ben gashmi leruchani. Okay, so there's a dimension that's between the physical and the spiritual. V'hu hanikra hayuli. Okay, hayuli. V'hine koach hayuli hamuva b'sifrehem shel umot haolam. Okay, and Rabbi Nachman points out that this is actually brought down apparently by Aristotle. That's what Erez Moshe Doron says, that this term hayuli is brought in as a here, that it's a dimension that lies between the potential and the actual. Okay, there's like, if you break things down really, or if you slow things down, I think that's even like a better way of putting it, right? So there's like a moment between when something is, lies. It's just you're thinking about it. Maybe I'm going to do it. Maybe I'm going to act on it, and when you actually act on it, so there's like a moment that lies in between that, and that, or a gateway, let's call it, right? And that gateway is called hayuli. Okay. Ki kol davar hu b'tchila b'koach ve'achar kach yotzei mikoach el hapoel. Right. Everything in the world starts as a potential, and then afterwards, some of it, right, it becomes actualized. K'sheyotze min hakoach. Kodem sheba el hapoel yesh bechinat hayuli shehu memutza ben hakoach v'hapoel, which is what I just said, right? This gateway between the potential and the actual. Lemala mizeh, higher than that, is something called galgal. V'yesh galgalim shehem bechinat chomer aval chomram zach ma'od. And that's a quote from Rabbi Nachman. Okay, galgal, which really you could like Gilgul, almost like, right? It's like a galgal is like a wheel. Yeah, like a spinning wheel. And he says that like within Galgal, there's like things that have like a light touch of materialism. Okay. I guess we could, it's like this is, above my pay grade to understand these things, but I guess you could say energy. Energy is like that kind of thing, that it's something that has an effect on the physical world, but isn't itself physical. Okay, like the concept of like sunlight, right? Photosynthesis, that kind of thing. Okay, like the energy of the sun, a catalyst, right? Right, it's a catalyst. Okay, it's an energy that causes something else to happen, or even, I mean, obviously these days there's a lot of like people who are the concept of like being an energy worker, or of being able to see energy is something that is becoming more and more revealed. I don't fully understand it, but we do know that people's thoughts have an effect on this world. We do know that, I mean, tefillah, I guess you could say on some level is that, right? That when did you ever like stare at someone at the back of their, at the back, and then they turn around because they can feel you staring at them, right? There's an energy that passes between, right? If a feeling somebody's following, there's an energy that passes between people, chemistry, right? Charisma, someone who has charisma, that's an energy that they're giving off that other people are feeling. So that's something that has some aspect of physicality to it, but it's you can't like grab someone's charisma, it's not physical, but it has, like you said, it's a beautiful word, catalyst, right? It has an effect on us in this physical world. Okay, so that's Galgal. Elyon mikulam, and higher from all of them is something called Nivdal, okay? Which Nivdal, obviously from the word Havdalah, okay? Differentiated, we'll call it, yeah? Okay? Hello, hem kochot ruchanim shebeshorshei habriya. And this is like the spiritual forces, okay, that are really from the roots of creation. Shenivdalim mechomer v'gufanit lechalutin. And these are like, I guess you could say malachim, angels, okay, who have never been in this physical world. Right? There are different categories of angels. Some angels are angels that were people, and now they're angels, or neshamas in, like they're obviously gilgulim, right? The galgal, okay, is like something that's in a spiritual form right now, but was once in a physical form. And then there are angels that have never come to this earth, right? Again, this is all, the Arizal talks a lot about angels. It's at this point I don't understand this, but I'm saying it anyway, okay? But there are things that are completely spiritual and not physical at all. Rabbi Nachman megaleh lanu. So Rabbi Nachman, who did understand these things, of course, he reveals to us shahabria nimtzet betnua mitmedet. Okay, that creation, right, is in constant motion. Everything is actually constantly in flux, even though we feel like we're totally physical all the time, but it's not necessarily true, because we have access to the concept of hayuli, right? We bring things from potential into action, right? That's a gateway that we stand at the in. Okay.
So Shana, that's basically what the creation says. Bara Elokim la'asot. In other words, he created, and then we continue.
Right. So, but what we're saying here is that we have that, even though it feels to us like we're completely physical, we are also part of this constant motion, because there are things that come out of us that go through this process of hayuli. There are things that are coming out of us right now that are galgal.
Being.
Exactly.
Every creation that we think is a creation, it existed in the potential, and somebody is just
recreating it. Right, exactly. So we see that what Rabbi Nachman is saying is that we need to understand that this is constantly a flow. There's a constant flow between these four dimensions. They're not separate things. There's a constant flow, constant movement, interaction. Exactly.
Going around sounds also like the way the world goes. Like you can't stay in the middle.
Right.
And like it's all in the even if you're sitting or whatever, it's
always
here.
moving.
It's always
right. We're always moving. Exactly.
And
exactly. Beautiful. Okay. Hanivraim hanimuchim muzdakchim ve'olim lememad ruchani yoter. Okay. The ones that the creations that are at the bottom, they get more and more refined, and they go up to another dimension that's more spiritual. והנבראים הרוחניים מתגשמים ויורדים לממד נמוך וחומרי יותר. And the things that are, up in the shamayim, like neshamas, right, come down into this world and they become more megusham, more physical. תנועה סיבובית זו מרומזת בראשי התיבות התמימים החקוקים על הסביבון. Okay, so this constant rotation, right, is hinted at in the letters that are engraved on the sevivon. And he says like hatevot hatmimim. I love that. It's beautiful, right? This like innocent letters, right? Exactly. These like earnest letters. Nun gimel heishin. Roshei tevot nes gadol hayasham. Aval gam roshei tevot nivdal galgal hayuli and shefel. Efshar gam lirot kesher ben shtei kvutzot amilim. Okay, so now he's going to explain like each one how it connects to the by the letter, right, of both words is really is the same bechina, it's the same aspect. Okay, nes is mul nivdal, right? A miracle is connects to the highest level, this differentiated level of very, very spiritual. Sheken nes mehuto hitrachashut nivdelet, right? Al tivit. Okay, a nes itself is above nature. It is completely separated out, differentiated out. It's not controlled, ruled by the laws of nature. Okay, by its nature, it is above nature. Yes. Gadol mul galgal. Okay, so gadol, great, big, is connects to the concept of galgal. Sheken hagalgalim gdolim le'en shiur min ha'olam hagashmi. That the galgalim are higher, bigger, greater than the physical world. Hayuli mul haya. Sheken memad hazman. Okay, that the haya hu hagdarat zman. Okay, haya meaning was is a time based hagdarat a definition of time. Nice. Okay. That shayach lemetzias hagashmis v'nikarba, right? Time is only relevant to the physical world. Aval b'mehuto hu ruchani, but you can't grab time again. Okay, it's this concept of like it's a catalyst, right? It has an effect on the physical world, right? It has some connection. Something was, yes, but it's not exactly. Okay. Shefel mul sham, okay, this lowliness, okay, is connects to the concept of there. Sheken memad hamakom, okay, place, right? Place is something very physical. Sham hu hagdarat makom. V'gam kipshuto hakavana be'eretz Yisrael, right? It's not just the concept of a place, but it's an actual place. Hu tachlis hagashmi is v'atzimtzum, okay, and when you're pointing to a specific place, it's the epitome of physicality, something that's in the material world, right? If you say over there and you're pointing, you're literally you're setting up boundaries and to define that are defining where you mean when you point. Okay, so now this is a quote from Rabbi Nachman. These are his deep words on this concept. We need to know. The whole world lives in this state of a spinning wheel, essentially. Shekorin dreidel, that we call a dreidel, sevivon. V'hakol chozer chalila v'nitapach me'adam malach u'mimalach adam u'merosh regel u'meregel rosh. Okay, everything's constantly spinning and changing. Okay, from a person becomes an angel becomes a person, a head becomes a foot becomes a head, right? The most beautiful illustration of this is like a baby in a womb, right? They're like basically, a circle, yes, that with their feet up by their head and their head by their feet, and that represents like really all of life, yes. That also in Chabad Hasidus, this is a very, very big inyan, that everything is in the end is rooted in the beginning is rooted in the end, right? This is beautifully brought out by our yearly cycle of reading Torah, that when the last words of the Torah are Le'enei Kol Yisrael, right? The Lamed is the last letter of the Torah, And what's the first words of the Torah? Bereshis bara Elokim. Okay, and there's a base there, so Lev, right? At Lamed base is Lev. Okay, and we only notice that, we only understand that when we read it, you know, as a cycle. We didn't get to say that last year, right? Because most of us were not in shul on Simchas Torah to read that. But this year, it deeply touched me to be able to hear that, because it's such a significant in my life. It's one of these Torahs that sits in my heart, and you know, it's very comforting that things go in cycles, right? That there's a cycle. There's a life cycle. There's a daily cycle. There's a monthly cycle. There's a you know, with each kid, it seems like there's like many cycles as they're going through their growing up, you know.
Be a cycle that's spiraling up.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, but it's all rooted, meaning the fact that the end is rooted in the beginning. Like it's so interesting. I was looking at someone the other day, and someone that I hadn't seen. Oh, I know. We had lunch with we have old friends that moved to Efrat. They made Aliyah from Australia, and we had lunch with them on Shabbos, and the oldest son, we were at his bris, you know, and I don't know if I remember like the bris, it's like seeing the baby at the bris itself, but I remember like his face when he was a baby, and mamish, it's like the same face, you know, he's 22 years old now, and it's the same face, and you think like think about your own kids, right? Like they really, there are certain character traits that you see from day one. You don't know that those are character traits, right? But later on, when they're like, 17, and you're like, oh yeah, they were actually like that when they were, a tiny baby. Like that character trait came out so early, but it wasn't fully developed as a character trait, right? It was just a tone of voice then, and now you can match it up, but that's the end is rooted in the beginning, right? We are mamish fully formed human beings. Like as we come out of the womb, it's just that it becomes expressed. You're taking out a potential into poel. That's exactly right. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. V'ken shar kol hadvarim sheba'olam kulam v'zarim chalila mitgalim mitapchim mizeh lazeh umizeh lazeh. Okay. I think he keeps saying chalila because there's death involved, right? So, but if you think about it, like a flower, right, or a fruit tree, right? The fruit tree, it gives fruit, and then it it dies back. All the leaves fall off, and then again in the spring, Bezrat Hashem, the buds will come out, the flowers will come out, and then the fruit will come out, and it's all constant, right? But there is this aspect. It's funny. That's a very big concept in the Nesivos Shalom, right? That we actually can't. Just like a seed gets planted in the ground and it actually doesn't start growing again until it completely rots away, right? Like that when you plant a seed in the ground, it looks so nice and, put together, right? But nothing can grow out of that. Yes, it has to completely deteriorate. It has to completely die back and fall apart and rot, in fact, in order for this new life to kind of burst forth for it. And it's so significant. It's such a beautiful. There's a beautiful Torah by Rav Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin, who talks about how why did Hashem have to make this miracle happen with Avram and Sarah, that they were 190 years old, that why did it have to be that's what happened, what their story was, and there's such a deep significance in there for Am Yisrael that it really was Davka at the place where it looked like it was impossible. It looked like it was impossible. It looked like there was no chance. It looked like Sarah's eggs were, not in their prime of time of existence, right? And it looked like this couple was past, was on the way down, not on the way up. They were on the way down, and that in the cycle, yes, in the second half of the cycle. But that's Davka when Am Yisrael were born. And it's so significant for all of us in our own lives, this lesson that, just when it looks like it's impossible, just like when it looks like it's darkest, it looks like there's no solution, Davka, in that we have to know that there's always a solution, that Hashem can do anything, and that lesson is deeply rooted in Am Yisrael, because we come from Yitzchak, who was born to Sarah at that moment where it looked like it was absolutely impossible, and that there was no there was no aspect of like rebirth and continuation, and there we go. That's Dafka when it happened. Okay, so everything comes around, everything circles around and changes from one to the other. Mi elyon letachton, from the highest to the lowest, mi tachton elyon, from the lowest to the highest. Ki be'emet b'shoresh hakol echad, because really at its root everything is one. What is everything? Hashem. Ki yesh nivdalim dahainu malachim shehem nivdalim legamre min hachomer. There are malachim that are completely separate from the physical world. V'yesh galgalim shehem bechinat chomer, and there's this concept, this dimension of galgalim that are partially physical, aval chamram zach meod, but from very pure, refined, translucent physicality, shimmering physicality, we'll call it. V'yesh olam hashefel, this low world. Dahainu zeha olam hashefel shu chomer gamor, that it's completely physical. ואף על פי שבוודאי כל אחד ואחד מאלו השלושה הוא נלקח ממקום מיוחד, אף על פי כן בשורש הכל שם כולו אחד. Okay, that and even though it looks like everyone is from a different place and they have no connection to each other, even so we have to understand that they all come from one place. They really all come from one place. In a different place, he explains how the Heyuli is also is like really the source of everything, even though it's like right in the middle, because it's exactly what you've been saying, Sarah, the poel from the koach, right? And really everything goes through that process. Everything, even angels go from that, they go from like, maybe there's like not even no time in between Hashem saying like, oh, there needs to be an angel for this. And then, there's already an angel for that, but there's something in there. It goes through that gate of going from potential into action.
When it comes to the bottom, you can't do it on its own. Like you have to do it from the top. So the bottom represents us, and the top represents the sparkle. Like you turn it from the top, and then you can keep turning it.
Right. So he's going to say that.
Sorry.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. כשמסתכלים על העולם, when we look at the world, רואים את התמורות הללו בכל מקום. Okay, we see these concepts everywhere. קיץ הופך לסתיו, right? Spring turns into fall. סתיו לחורף, fall turns into winter. חורף לאביב, and winter turns into spring. מתוך המוות צומחים חיים, והחיים עצמם מובילים שוב אל המוות, right? It looked like from death grows new life, and from the life, it goes again into death. Okay, this is this cycle that Hashem, implanted literally, okay, pun intended, in the world. Yes, Tinok hofech leyeled, a baby becomes a child. Yeled leboger, veboger lezaken, a child becomes a grown up, and a grown up becomes an elderly person. Zikenim cholfim min haolam v'tinokot shuv noldim, and elderly people go into the next stage. They leave this physical world, and new babies are born. We had a
mannerisms.
Amazing.
And not just looks, but mannerisms, the way they talk, and the way they hold their head. And
you see that in one of your kids, particularly. Yeah.
Children, you see.
It comes back around. That's so interesting. It's beautiful. That's a strong concept that it comes back around. On the back, we had I'll mention, actually, this is I'll do this shir Louis Nishama Yosef Ben Shendel, who was a survivor. He passed away on Friday, Thursday night, Friday. And he's I wrote a post. I don't know if you're on Facebook, but I wrote a post. I can send it out here. But he was one of the survivors that I merited to be with in Poland, like almost 2 years ago. And he was just an incredible person. He was about this tall, mamish, and he went through like 6 different camps. Such a koach, such a strong person. Like he brought a lot of things from potential into actual. And you know, he was 98 years old. So Baruch Hashem, he made, but you know what he did with his life, and this is really what stays with me. And I'll give us all a bracha in this, that you know, the video that I posted was we were in Auschwitz, and he was in Auschwitz for I think like a week and a half or something like that before he was sent on to the next camp. He spent most of his time in Plaszow, and he actually after the war he caught Amen Gut, Yamach Shmo, who's the Nazi who's depicted in Schindler's List. He was the person in charge of that camp where the Schindler Jews were working. He was the one that shot people from his balcony, right? So Joseph caught him after the war. He became a Nazi hunter, and he went from jail to jail and camp to camp where people were just, you know, hiding themselves as regular German officers. And he caught him because he had seen him so many times. He knew exactly who he was. Anyway, this is a person that lost his he said his mother's name was Shendel. That's all he has. He doesn't remember. He was 13 years old the last time he saw her. And he doesn't remember what she looks like, and there's no pictures. So, you know, and it's an amazing thing that a person like that, right? I was literally in Birkenau with him, and he told his story, and it was very, very hard story, a lot of very challenging things. But by the time we got up to the crematorium, it was Friday, and he just kept on saying to us, Kinderlach, Kinderlach, Shabbos is coming, Shabbos is coming. We have to head into Shabbos, you know? And he literally, I'll never forget this. He told, you know, we told dark stories there. We understood what happened there. And yet when he turned away, he was like, Yalla, Kinderlach, Shabbos. And he started singing Shalom Aleichem. And we walked out of Auschwitz from the crematorium singing Shalom Aleichem, all the verses with him leading. It was in, you know, we were pushing him in a wheelchair, but he walked from the crematorium, sat down in the wheelchair. We kept on pushing him, you know, and singing Shalom Aleichem. And it was, I mean, it changed for me the entire experience since then. Every time I go there, and I just think it's an amazing thing that someone like that, who experienced such darkness in his early years, it was able to, you know, live his life, especially in the last, you know, 20 years, really, especially finding the light and helping other people. He did a lot of kiruv, and he really helped Jews to reconnect to their Judaism in a way of light, of seeing light, of Avos Yisrael, of being so connected to his emunah and his faith, you know. Anyway, and so I just whatever, when it said like, you know, zakeni mina olam v'tinokot shuv noldim, I feel like, you know, I almost feel like he was that in one person, you know, like that the oldness of him like had gone, and he himself was like newborn. Exactly. Beautiful. Gam ba'olam hanefesh anu chavim et otam hashinuim. Okay, in the world of the soul, we feel these changes, these different dimensions. Itim ha'adam hu nivdal muvdal mikol inyanei hachomer na'alev v'kadosh. Right, there are times when we feel like we are, you know, connecting to a deeper part of ourselves. We can feel Hashem's presence in our lives. We feel, you know, so like we've gone up to a new level of kedusha. And sometimes we feel this confusion, this mixture of holiness and physicality, and that's called hayuli. Memutza ben ritzonot sotrim shel chomer v'ruach, right? And that's when we feel this conflict, this battle, really, between the contradictions between what we sometimes want and what we other times want, right? Sometimes we want to just, you know, learn Torah, and other times we just want to eat donuts, and, you know, that's very confusing, right? Koreach hametzius mul idealim ne'alim, right? There's this like this koreach, or sandwich. I don't know. It's not a sandwich, right? It's not spelled like that. That's what the I don't know. Koreach metzius. This I don't know. Maybe it's a die in this conflict between the idealism, right? This high idealism and the reality. itim hu shefel megusham enochi v'shatuf miyadut raot v'nimuchot, right? And sometimes we feel like we're just very low, right? Two of my kids have been sick for like a couple of weeks. What does it say? Necessity. Okay. Oh, okay, fine. The necessity of reality against the idealism, right? How we want to live, and then there's carpool to drive, right? Okay, like you got laundry to do. Okay, right. Okay, beautiful. Like it forces us. Yes, we're forced to come out of our. We come out of on Yom Kippur. We're like, wow, if only I could stay in this moment. It's so. And then boom, then you gotta get the kids up for school the next day, or you got to do the laundry. So and sometimes we feel very low. I had 2 kids that were sick. We had a l'chaim, Baruch Hashem, for my son. It was in Yitzhar, so it's it's a drive from our house to Yitzhar, and it was a cold night, and 3 of my kids were sick, and so 2 of them didn't come, and one of them came, and he shouldn't have come. He was literally shivering from fever, and he and so. It's like they want, you want to do these things, but like your physical body just is in a different reality. So that's it, Yeah. The shoemaker's children. Galgal hu achozer ba'olam. Okay, so this is the next section. He brings it to exactly where Hindi was helped us to get an early peek at. Kol advarim sheba'olam ovrim tmura. Okay, everything in the world goes through all these different stages. Ma'agalim ba'olam leida v'mavet tzmicha v'kilyon. Okay, there's circles, cycles, right? Birth and death, growth, new growth, and rotting away. Gam ha'adam ha'katan nidchaf ba'al korcho. Oh, here we go. Now we have the word everywhere. Al yedei chok hatmurot el toch hagalgal hagadol shel hashinuim. Okay, every person is like we're pushed into this place where we are ruled by this cycle, yes, of change. There's no way to hold on to one thing, right? You so badly want to stop time sometimes and just be in that moment, and that's it. Right here, this is perfect, and then no such thing. You can't hold on to it. There's always one thing you cannot stop is you can count on. There's always going to be changes. Kol chalumotav b'neinav ahavutav ve'achzavotav ovdim baruach avak poreach chasar erech b'pshar. Okay, all of our dreams, our children, our love, and also our despair, right? They all get lost in the wind. They're like dust that flies away, and there's no way to hold on to them. Gam ritzonotehem shel bnei ha'adam, also our desires. Velo haritzonot hachazakim biyoter, and even our deepest desires. Gam hem chelek migalgal hatmurot, even they are part of this like spinning wheel. Halo nitkaltam b'davar ma shechapatztem bo ma'od be'idan achad, ube'idan achar bikashtem et nafshechem lamut im lo yisulak mechayechem. Okay, there's something that we wanted so badly, like I'm going to die if I don't have this, right? And then at another time, I feel like I'm going to die if it's not taken away from me. Yes? Like I remember, women, I think this is a classic example. I remember like the minute I was pregnant with one of my kids, could not eat chicken at all. Like I couldn't even look at chicken. I couldn't touch the chicken to prepare for Shabbos. And then after the kid was born, all I wanted to eat was chicken. Like it was like, we really have this. And the next kid, I could only eat chicken and not meat. It was like such a funny thing how that, right? So these things, and that's just an illustration. It's a dramatic illustration, right? But like you sometimes you want something so badly, and sometimes it happens, and then you're over it. Sometimes it doesn't happen, and you're over it anyway, right? I mean, think about what you wanted when you were younger, right? Right? You may not want it. That's exactly right. So we understand that even our so-called deepest desires are ephemeral, right? The only desire that really stays with us, or Bezrat Hashem will give us a bracha that it should stay with us our whole lives, is to be close to Hashem, right? But like, that's in the physical world, desires are they come and they go. Even if they feel so strong at one point, right? They come and they go. Ritzonotenu af hem galim. They are waves. They are wheels. Kalim ve'ovdim b'nesiyat hatzmura. They come and they go, right? They get stronger and then they get weaker with this whole concept of cyclical movement. Ish ba'olam lo hisig davar shechok hatzmurot lo pa'al bo ad shekala ve'avad. There's no such thing as a desire that isn't part of this rule, okay? That it gets stronger or it gets weaker and it gets lost. Aval chok hatzmurot noseb b'shura. What? Basura. Oh, thank you. Aval chok hatzmurot noseb basura. It rules with one. It goes with one rule. Yes, is that what? Like news, to give news. Yes. Okay. Kisha'ata lamala. Like it works. This is the rule. Okay. When you're up, kasher atzlacha me'ira lecha panim. Okay. When the success is lighting up your life, your face. Okay. Al tishkach shebehechrech tavo hirida. Don't forget that that's also going to end, and there's going to be a downfall, a downswing. Al titka'eh. Al tachshov sheleolam tiyeh lemala. Okay. Don't get so full of yourself and think that it's always going to be like this, that you're going to be at the top of the world all the time. But it's also true the other way, right? Kisha'ata lemata, when you're down, when you've fallen, when things are tough. Kisha'advarim lo minahalim kefi ritzoncha, when things aren't going the way you want them to go. V'gam tchushat halev hi choshech v'asdara, and your feeling inside is of darkness and hiddenness, disconnection. Al tishkach shebehechrech tavo aliyah. Don't forget that there will come you will go back up. There will come a lifting. Al tityaesh, al tachshov sheleolam tiyeh lemata. Don't despair. Chanukah Sameach. Don't despair. Don't give up. Don't think that it's always going to be like this. Okay, when we're down at the bottom, there's coming an upswing, right? And when there's an up, when we're at the top, we understand that it's not going to stay like that forever.
That when people come there and say, Lloyd has shot for that person,
Right.
I'm going to do a mitzvah.
Beautiful.
And again, like you're lifting that person up.
Right.
Like it's never that it ends. Constantly is this cycle.
Yeah. I mean, where I thought you were going to say, and I just to add to what you said, is like also Levaya is like really a celebration of that person's life, right? I mean, that's when you hear things that you didn't know, and people share like the all the ways that person was so great in this world, and that's not something that we speak about so all the time, although we should, right? About how each other are so great in this world.
I thought that exactly. And I was like, why don't we say this to people?
Right, while they're alive. Exactly. Yeah, we should take that hachlata onto ourselves to tell people when we see them, doing something, just to tell them in that moment. Don't save it for,
All the parents are going to say, no,
So
it's not
nice.
something that because people always call
Right.
tell people and
Right.
children.
Right. Catch them doing something good. That's what we say. Right. Right. I have a friend who writes on Fridays, or I don't know if she only writes it on Fridays, but on like after at Shabbos dinner, she reads to her kids all the good things that she saw them do that week. It's an amazing thing, right? Yeah, you could send them emails. Okay, where were we? חוץ מלהתגלגל ולהתחלף לבלי קץ, יש אפשרות נוספת. But, okay, this also could feel to us like a little bit oppressive, right? That like, don't worry, when you're on the top, you're gonna sink down, And another thing, okay, so he writes, so if you know, but which you never know, right? But he says, here's another, aside from just like, there's a book called As a Driven Leaf. Did anybody, I had to read it in college. You ever read it? Well, it's about Elisha ben Abuya, right? Acher. Yeah, it's a reimagined, it was written in like, Milton Steinberg wrote it in the 1950s, I think. And I had to read it for college. Actually, I think that was one of the pieces that was responsible for my journey into Torah observance. I was so moved by it, but it's called As a Driven Leaf because like a person can feel like they're just being blown around, and that things are happening to them. But like Hindi said, and this is where Rabbi Nachman is going to go, Rav Erez Moshe Doron is going to take us, that we have to know that that's not how it's actually working. It's not just random, right? It's not like we're blowing around without any other option. Okay, so this is what he says. Ha'afsharut ha'acheret hi sod havitur. Okay, this third choice, plan B, I don't know, plan C, right? Is the secret of vitur. How would you translate vitur? Like surrender, yeah? Guess I could say that. Tachat chok hatmurot hakol oved. In this rule of everything changes, okay? It's like everything on some level could be lost. Ve'ilu ma she'ata mevater alav nimlat v'chomek mechok hatmurot. And what you give up, or what you give up, like it's like if I give up, it's lost forever. Et kol hadvarim, et kol haratzonot, efshar lemalet michok hatmurot, aval tzarich lahamir otam beratzon achad. Okay, but and all the things, all the desires, right? They you have to understand that they really, where we have to go is that they all fall into one. They can be refocused. We'll call it that. Okay, that's where we're saying. Okay, b'shoresh hakol sham kulo echad. Okay, this is really the source of comfort, right? At the source of everything, what's it all? Who's it all coming from? Hashem. Nivdal galgal hayul yoshefel hemrak surot shonot shel oto davar. All of these dimensions are really just different shades of the same thing. Lamala, lamata, hatzlacha, o kishalon, right? Up, down, success or failure. Hemrak matzavim shonim shel oto achad. It's really all expressions of the same one. Aval tzarich levater, but you have to surrender to it. B'yirida levater al hayeush, and on the downswing, to surrender to the despair, to the upset, to the sadness. Ba'aliyah levater al hagaiva, and to surrender from the, right, not to surrender to it, but don't dwell on it. Beautiful. Okay, don't dwell on it. Okay, don't take ownership of it, I guess I could even say, right? Don't take ownership of the despair, and don't take ownership of the pride. And to like part of and everything in between, right? This is a big foundational concept in Rabbi Nachman, to give up on expectations, imagined expectations, okay? Because shadvarim yamshichu leitnahel kfi shehem, okay? That, and he says don't give up the expectations that everything's going to keep on going this way. But I want to also say that, right? Sometimes the despair comes from the expectations, right? False expectations. All expectations are false, right? You imagine what this evening is going to be like. I'm going to have a Hanukkah party, and all my children are going to come, and they're going all be spick and span, and we're all going to sit around the table, and my presents are going to be beautifully wrapped, and the latkes are going to be perfect, and I'm going to, and I'm not going to be like sweating with the flour all over, the potatoes dripping off of my, shirt, whatever, like, right? Those are false expectations, because I'm for sure going to have potatoes dripping off, like just the reality, right? Anytime we imagine what something's going to be like, that's a setup for disappointment. Because it's never, ever how we imagined. It could be better if we allow ourselves to levater on that tzipiyah hadimionit, right? If we give up on our imagined expectations, then something even more beautiful could come out, right? You could see how things can be messy and beautiful. Things can be You know, sometimes in the messiness is the beauty, right? You can be more authentic. You're not putting on a show for each other. You're actually being your authentic selves, and that's actually where all the beauty lies. And okay, l'ratzot et ha'echad b'chol matzav. Okay, to really, what do we want? Who's spinning the dreidel, right? Lizkor et ha'echad b'chol ha'tahafuchot. Is right to remember the one in all of the what? Upheavals, beautiful, thank you. Levakesh et ha'echad b'chol ha'bilbulim, to request the one in all of the confusion. L'sharet et ha'echad, to serve the one. B'chol sugei matzavim ba'akalim, all in all of the different matzavim, on all of the different situations. Ba'aliyah, b'yirida, b'na'arod, b'zikna, b'choshech ba'or, in the highs and in the lows, in youth and in old age. And I'm gonna Narud also is like in foolishness, and Zakenut is also wisdom, right? Okay. B'choshech ba'or, in darkness and in light. Lizkor sheyad echat. Okay, this is exactly the line. This is the line. Yad achat mesovevet et hasivivon shel chayim. Right? One hand is spinning the dreidel. One hand is running all of these cycles. Lo mishaneh al ezo ot hu yipol. It doesn't really matter on what letter it falls. Mi shesovev oto kodem yisovev oto shuv. Whoever spun it before is spinning it now, right? Hashem is spinning it. Lo mishaneh le'eze matzavim nagia. It doesn't really matter what matzav we get to. HaMesovev et chayenu yishar tamid oto achad. Hashem is with us, and He is always one, right? When we feel, I mean, that's the biggest bracha that anyone can possibly have, right? To feel Hashem in the choshech and in the or, in the zikna and in the na'arut, in the yirida and in the aliyah, right? That's really the bracha. When we know that every letter that my life is falling on is there to help me to grow closer to who Hashem put me in this world to be, then I relate to it in a completely different manner, right? I don't see it as, oh, now I fell and now the story's over. No, okay, I fell because there's a lesson that I need to learn here. In the falling is the actual lesson for me, and it's personally designed by the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the creator of the universe, for me in this moment in my life. That I couldn't learn this lesson in any other way at any other time. Absolutely, absolutely. That's the lesson. Exactly. Okay. That only this is the cycle that Hashem set up, right? And this falling will lead to the next growth. Panenu rak elav, right? If in every place we just turn our faces to Him, nishtachrer mitzar hagilgul v'hatzmura, then we are freed from the pain of this like constant change and constant spinning, right? And we've talked about this before. There's actually, I shouldn't say the word pain, I should say suffering, right? We are released from the suffering because there is pain, but there doesn't have to be suffering along with the pain. The suffering is where we get to choose, right? There for sure is pain. I mean, I fell the other night. I was walking and Momish did not see there was a speed. There was we were walking out of a parking lot and there was like a speed bump, exactly. And I was like looking at my phone to do the parking payment, and I fell and I smashed my hip against a low wall. Thank God. And I mean, thank God I really could have fallen on my face and broken whatever. Baruch Hashem, I didn't. I stopped. Myself I got stopped by this wall and my hip bone. And I was thinking like, wow, this is painful. It was painful, but then I guess I realized I could have fallen and broken my glasses. I could have fallen and broken my teeth. It was really like a bumpy area, and anything could have happened. And that's so okay, the pain was, it definitely hurt, but there was no sorrow, right? Because I guess in that moment of realization that it could have been worse, then that saved me from having sorrow about the pain. right? So that's what, Hashem makes all of this happen. And there's a certain level of comfort and healing that comes from knowing that. All of this is, as Rabbi Nachman explains, specifically related to Hanukkah. Mishum she'anu chogegim et Chanukat Beit Hamikdash, because we are celebrating we're remembering, right, the re-inauguration of the Beis Hamikdash. Sham b'Beit Hamikdash haya shoresh v'chibur ha'olamot, right? That the Beis Hamikdash was the spoke, the central place in the wheel of like all of these constant changes. Elyonim yardu lamata, okay? In the Beis Hamikdash itself, Rabbi Nachman says, right, that the highest things came down to the lowest place, right? What's the highest thing? Ki Hashem yisparach hashrash chinato v'mishkan u'bebeit hamikdash, right? Hashem himself came down into the Beis Hamikdash. That's the highest thing coming down into the lowest. We think, by the way, I think that's beautiful that he says that, because we think the high coming to the low is the negative part, right? But when he says what he says here, how it really what this phrase can refer to is Hashem coming into the lower parts, right? And that actually is so comforting. So much depth in that. I just came to right now. And the lowest part things went up to went up. Kikol atfilot v'ha'avodot haruchaniyot shel bnei ha'adam, kolel bnei ha'adam atzmam, olim u'mit'alim el ha'olamot ha'elyonin davka derech Beit Hamikdash. And we, even though we're the lowest, right? We're the very chumri physical, right? So our tefillot and our korbanot, right, went up, and that lifted us up, and that's the lowest coming up to the highest. So in the Beis Hamikdash, it was like the ideal, it's like the headquarters, we'll call it, of this concept of what, the high comes into the low and the low goes up to the high. And in both of those things in the Beis Hamikdash, it was a positive thing. And so I'll give us all a bracha that we should use that lens, right? That if it's a positive thing that happened in the Beis Hamikdash, then it's a positive thing that's happening also in our lives. That in the bottom half of the cycle, like Sarah pointed out so beautifully, that's where that next growth actually starts. That's how it comes from the potential into the actual. So Bezrat Hashem, we should take these Hanukkah Torahs with us, the lights of Hanukkah, and really they should go with us to light the way for the next year, and they should light the way for revelation of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meira b'yameinu. They said there's a beautiful Torah about the Grager on Purim, that the Grager we do from below, and the dreidel we do from above. So I'm a walking model of the potato dripping on my shirt. No, Becky's on, but yeah. Oh my gosh. It just clings to you, right? It clings to you. Mamish. It's so funny. It's really funny. All right. Hanukkah Sameach.